Pikmin is a game I've been fascinated by for almost my entire life. I wasn't capable enough to play it when I was little. I was only 2 years old when this game came out, but I absolutely loved watching my family play it. It was amazing to me seeing 100 of these cute little guys running around doing all kinds of tasks. Seeing someone manage 100 creatures and solve all these puzzles that seemed so hard to me at the time. It was my favorite game to watch. By the time I was old enough to actually play the game, my GameCube was broken and forgotten about. I was probably playing Call of Duty or whatever else was popular at the time. My GameCube and Pikmin mostly forgotten. But then at E3 2012, Pikmin 3 was announced. The trailer brought back so many memories of watching Pikmin as a kid, and it looked so good. The game was beautiful, there were cool new Pikmin types, there were 3 characters now, and it was one of the most prominent first-party games Nintendo was showing off for its upcoming console, the Wii U. It was even supposed to release close to the Wii U's launch, and I was incredibly excited. It ended up getting delayed, and the Wii U I got to play it was pretty much useless, but when it eventually came out, I adored the game. It was an amazing feeling to finally get to play a Pikmin game for myself, and I couldn't get enough. I played Pikmin 3 over and over and over. A couple years later, I found a GameCube for like $25 in some random thrift store. I bought it and brought it home to relive some of the games I loved from my childhood. One of those games being Pikmin. I finally got to play the game all the way through. It wasn't as polished as Pikmin 3, but the charm that captured me many years before sucked me in once again. But this time, I was the one in control. My first full playthrough of Pikmin is one of my most treasured gaming experiences, and it's a game that I've gone back to many, many times. The reason this video even exists is that I felt a sudden urge to play Pikmin again, and I thought, why not try to figure out what it is that draws me to this game? And hopefully, I can convince one person out there to give this game and this series a chance. Describing Pikmin is honestly a bit difficult. The simplest way to describe it would be Nintendo's take on a real-time strategy game with puzzle and collectathon elements. You command an army of 3 types of Pikmin, each with their own strengths and weaknesses. You have to manage and direct them to defeat enemies, break walls, build bridges, and retrieve your ship parts. You also have to effectively manage your time. You have exactly 30 days to collect all 30 ship parts that were scattered during Olimar's crash landing, meaning that you have to be on a pace of at least 1 part per day to collect them all. Furthermore, each day itself is timed and lasts about 13.5 minutes. This puts a hard cap on the length of your playthrough. Regardless of if you have collected enough parts or not, the game will end on the 30th day. This might seem a bit intimidating at first, but it's really plenty of time. It's very easy to collect multiple parts in one day, and you can reset the current day if you screw up really badly. The first day in an area is usually spent clearing out enemies, breaking down walls, exploring and planning out how to tackle the area. And then in the next couple of days, you can collect a whole bunch of parts. In addition, you don't even need to collect all 30 parts to successfully complete the game. Only 25 are actually necessary for Olimar to leave the planet, but collecting all 30 gives you the best ending, and it's the most satisfying. The time limit is a controversial feature for many, but I think it's a crucial piece of what makes this game so special and helps it to stand out 24 years and 3 sequels later. The race against the clock can be very exciting. When there's 1 part left in an area and you don't want to waste one of your precious days to go back for it, there's so much tension. If you fail, it's really tempting to redo that day and try to make it in time. I'm always left with this feeling of, if I just made a few slight tweaks to the day, I should be able to finish it all. That feeling of wanting to improve your play just a tiny bit each time is a big part of what keeps me coming back time and time again. It makes the game feel endlessly replayable. But it's far from the only thing that keeps me coming back. This game oozes that classic Nintendo charm. There's something inherently fantastical about getting to explore a world at a fraction of our size. You get to take in both the delights and the horrors of nature, the beauty of plant life, the brutality of wildlife. And then there's the actual designs of all the creatures. Pikmin are absolutely adorable, and the series has some of the most memorable enemy designs. I remember so many more enemy names in Pikmin than I do in literally any other game. The dreaded Wollywog, the iconic Bulborbs, the silly puffy Blowhogs, bread bugs, the infuriating swooping snitch bugs, and then there's all the bosses, which are totally unique. This game even has a credit roll for all the enemies that helps to familiarize yourself with the names and even reveals ones you might have missed, furthering that sense of replayability. On a first playthrough, you will likely miss out on the Gulix, Mamuda, or Smoky Prague, and be encouraged to go back and find them. I'm admittedly a bit obsessed, but I remember how I audibly screamed the first time I saw a baby Snaggered in Pikmin 4. To be fair, most of my Pikmin 4 experience was like that. I remember playing it on a call with some friends, and every few minutes I'd be yelling, "Oh my god, it's A," to whatever enemy appeared. There's such a playfulness and overwhelming charm to this series. For every horrifying note about you blowing up your Pikmin with bomb rocks, there's funny lines about Olimar repeatedly getting scammed on his ship parts. The whole premise of Pikmin 2 is hilarious to me, and many of the end-of-day notes are a joy to read. Pikmin easily could have been a super serious story about survival, with an ever-present sense of dread. Between the looming time limit, danger around every corner, the disposability of your Pikmin, and the questionable way the Pikmin propagate themselves with the corpses of their enemies, all seem to imply that. And yet, it fills you with a sense of wonder, joy, satisfaction, and this desire to improve. Playing this game just puts me in a happy place. I think the story of how Pikmin came to be really demonstrates why it ended up the way it did. In an interview with The Telegraph, Miyamoto talked about how the inspiration for the game came to him by watching ants carry leaves. He was quoted saying, "Ants, as you know, always have a leader, and tend to be carrying things as they move to create a kind of rail. And I started thinking about a game about lots of small people carrying things in a line, following a leader, with everyone going in the same direction." I think it's pretty easy to make the connection between ants and Pikmin's gameplay, but it's what he said next that I find most interesting here. When we think about video games, we always have the idea of a start and a goal, and it's like a race between individual players. Who can make it and who won't? And I thought, why does it have to be a competition? Why can't everyone just move together in the same direction, carrying things as a team? Who made these rules in the first place anyway? What I take away from this quote is that the game is all about working together. You and the Pikmin are a team working towards the mutual goal of survival. Despite all the adversity they face, the game chooses to focus on the sense of cooperation. There's no villain, there's no heroes, there's no bad feelings, just a man stranded on an alien planet trying to survive, and the creatures he encounters. Some of which choose to aid him, while others are simply living their lives, also just trying to survive. It's ultimately a story about how by working together, we can overcome anything. The end result is that Olimar escapes the planet's safety, and the Pikmin have gained the knowledge, experience, and courage to defend themselves. It's an uplifting message in the face of adversity, and it's why the game manages to have the tone it does, and why it's so unique. I also love how this theme carries over to the gameplay. By the nature of making the Pikmin adorable, you likely feel a desire to protect them, and not treat them as disposable pawns. You'll try your best to protect them as they protect you. But when you inevitably mess up and lose a Pikmin, the game makes sure you know. You can see their little souls leaving their bodies, and they have a death sound effect to make the situation as devastating as possible. And then Olimar writes in his notes about how he's haunted by their deaths. There's even a count of how many Pikmin survived and how many were lost immediately upon completing the game. It all works to make you want to be a better leader, a better player. It's yet another aspect of this game that makes it so replayable. But on a thematic level, it plays into this idea of working together and valuing every life, encouraging you to try to limit sacrifices as much as possible. Despite being nearly 2.5 decades old, there's still barely anything like Pikmin. In my quest to find games that are like Pikmin, the only one I've truly found is, bafflingly, the Hotel Transylvania 3 movie tie-in game, which inexplicably uses mechanics ripped straight from Pikmin. I have no idea how this game got made or why, but it's something I felt I had to note when discussing these games. I don't want to completely derail this video talking about this, and the game costs more money than I'm willing to spend for a bit. But if you're interested in learning more about this confusing piece of Pikmin lore, then Arlo has an excellent video talking about it. I think if there's one word to describe what makes the first Pikmin so special, it's simplicity. It's just Olimar stranded on a dangerous planet, 30 ship parts, 30 days. The sequels added tons of extra features, improved controls and AI, and tons of other things that make them stand out. But the simplicity of this game makes it feel to me like the most pure Pikmin experience. Playing this game just makes me happy. It brings me peace. It's one of those cozy games that I can sit down and play through in an afternoon or an evening on a rough day to feel better. Nintendo has been infuriating with their extremely long gaps between games with delay after delay, but they've managed to create something special. Each game has some unique twist on the formula that makes it easy to see why any game could be your favorite. Pikmin 1 is a timeless classic. Its simple formula and beautiful but harsh world, along with the tension created by the time limit, makes it a special game. Pikmin 2 greatly increased the scope of what Pikmin was, introducing new characters, a second captain, 2 Pikmin types, plus Bulbmin, tons of new enemies, refined controls, and improved the Pikmin AI. It's also by far the most challenging Pikmin game. It moved away from the strict time limit and put a bigger focus on dungeon-like caves that had a more intense combat focus. And of course, it introduced the unforgettable Water Wraith. Pikmin 3 returned to being focused on surface gameplay and experimented with a softer time limit. It also included bigger, more cinematic boss fights, a larger focus on multitasking with the 3 captains, another 2 Pikmin types, and a bigger focus on story. It was the first HD Pikmin, and is still a beautiful game over a decade later. In my opinion, it also has the best controls in the series, along with some of my favorite level design and puzzles. And then there's Pikmin 4, which is a behemoth of a game that includes a bit of the best parts of each prior game. Each and every game feels fresh, and is great in their own way, and I implore you to give them a chance if you haven't yet. I like to make my conclusions a little rambly and also talk about the process involved in making the video, so if you are interested in hearing about that, stick around. Otherwise, thank you for watching. So after writing this script, I decided to check out my local game stores to see if any of them had Hotel Transylvania 3 in stock, and miraculously, I found a copy. The footage used earlier was my own from my brief playthrough, which was a nightmare to get set up. It took me way longer than I'd care to admit to figure out that the game lacked Pro Controller support, and then I couldn't find my Joy-Con grip, so I had to play with loose Joy-Cons. Then I ran into issues with my recording software. It just did not want to record this game. When I eventually got everything working after over an hour, what I ultimately found out was it's not very good. It's not particularly surprising, but it's rough. It was pretty miserable to play, but there was also some cool things to see. Some of the ideas it had, like multiple bases and a cap on your Pikmin that is increased over time, actually made it into Pikmin 4. Anyway, enough on Hotel Transylvania. I'm so happy that I finally got this video out. This video started right when I finished playing Elden Ring the first time. After my first run of Elden Ring, the first thing I wanted to do was play Pikmin. I don't know why, but that's just how my brain works. I ended up writing a couple pages, going through a couple drafts, and then I just left it there for like 2 years before I picked it up a couple days ago. I'm clearly struggling with this whole YouTube consistency thing and procrastination. I always knew that my release schedule would be pretty sporadic. I just make videos when I get a spark of inspiration, and that is pretty hard to rely on. It's very inconsistent when I actually have the ability to work on stuff. I imagine that's what this channel will always be. So thank you to all of you that have stuck around and supported me these last few years. I do apologize for how long this has taken, but honestly, after making that 4-hour monster of a video, and then making a very personal video right afterwards, I was just so burnt out, and I haven't had the drive to make anything since. Hopefully this can re-spark something. I hope to put out more in the future. On that note, I did mention in the last video that I would talk about how I'm doing and updating you guys on my personal life and stuff like that, so things are good. I've gone through some serious hardship these last 2 years, and I know there's going to be a lot more in the future, but I'm in a good place. Who knew accepting yourself and living a way that makes you happy would make you happy? I couldn't help but notice while recording this just how much happier I sound. So yeah, I'm gonna get too sappy if I let myself continue rambling, so I'll end this here. that's my little update and a look behind the scenes at my creative process. Thank you so much for watching.